कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स दिल्ली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स दिल्ली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड स्केड्यूल अ सेशन। These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
Hello everyone, this is Ramya from Coimbatore district of Tamil Nadu. In the Civil Services Examination 2021, I have secured All India rank 46. And in this particular video, I like to share about the mains answer writing preparation of civil services, what's its importance, how can you present it in a very good manner, and how to create those marks which are very much required in order to have your name in the final list which is released by the UPSC. So let's go into the video. So why did I pick the topic is that I have been failing in the preliminary examination itself for the past 5 attempts, and I was able to clear the examination only in the very last attempt of my 6th attempt. So during the 5-year journey, I did not just focus only on the prelims, but I did focus on the mains. I did a consistent approach on experimenting various answering styles, various structuring, and I guess this is the reason why I was able to clear the mains in my very first attempt and with very pretty good score. And these are the steps which has worked best for me, and I hope these will give you at least a 2 cents idea about how to approach a mains answer and prepare from your own end. And just a disclaimer that adopt all these techniques only after experimentation, and if you feel very comfortable and also if it improves your overall performance. Until unless this does not improve your convenience of the examination or does not help in improving your overall performance, please do stick to your current approach and just hear the points as a leisure moment. So let's get into the constraints of mains. So what are the constraints in the mains answer writing? One is the time limit. You do have 3 hours of examination. Second is the space limit. For 10-mark question, you have just 2 sides of a paper to write an answer, and for 15 marks, you have 3 sides. And then you have a word limit. You have 10 marks for 150 words, and for 15 marks, you have 250 words. And there are multiple parts of questions. So each question is not direct, but it has multiple parts which needs to be adequately addressed and mentioned in your answer. And the fourth is that you have an evaluator at the other end. You have to make their life easy, make their task easy by making your answer interactive with the evaluator rather than going in a very monotonous way. So this is one more constraint which you have. And the next is that you have number of questions which the UPSC asks. Few may be unknown for us. Few we may not have sufficient knowledge at all to answer, but still somehow we have to make up an answer and come up with a good presentation for the evaluator to give us marks. So these are the different constraints which the mains answer writing gives to your candidate. So when you start initially the mains answer writing approach, one particular challenge which every aspirant, even I have faced, is that you have to overcome your inhibition to write, because we might have written our answer sheets in our college days, in our school days, but when it comes to UPSC, we are very reluctant to write an answer. We just read the books, we just read it again, we read the newspapers, we see videos. But when we sit and write on a A4 sheet, that's the first step, which is a very huge hurdle which is required to be passed by every aspirant. So we need to overcome this inhibition of writing an answer, and once this stage is crossed, the floor is set for us for experimentation. And also when you start initially, even if you take one particular question, you might end up spending 30 minutes or 45 minutes to even answer that, and you may not have enough content to answer the question. So these are the challenges which everyone faces. You are not alone in this race, in this particular. So it's okay to take this much time, and it's okay to have very limited content. So just make up with that, go next question, go to next question. This is a process which repeats into itself, and you will be improving it gradually. And this gradual process does help you to perform better in your mains answer writing. And also the third challenge which initially we face is that we in the college days or in the school days we do answer the question by simply writing whatever we know from the start to end. But that's not the approach UPSC demands. It needs an analytical approach. It needs the answers to be addressed adequately and very minimally, but still to the point. So these are the things which we have to be aware when we start initially, which does not happen, but it's okay with that again. So once you have come all these experienced or all these blockades in your initial phase, you will be going to the next phase. And in this particular stage, I could share a simple hack which worked for me and hopefully works for you too. So initially what I did was, every morning I just used to pick one particular answer writing question. So many academies do share daily answer writing practice sessions. So I just pick one question which I had a little confidence to answer. So just write a question on a paper. Write the answer yourself, structure the answer yourself and write it down and keep the paper aside. Go on with your daily routine, go on with your preparation, read the papers and everything. And in the evening, you just pick the paper you have written and correct yourself the paper from a third person's perspective. Do not see the paper from your view, but see it from an evaluator's view. Try to find out the loopholes, try to find out the mistakes, and try to find out the presentation skills which did not work. So doing this hack continuously will give a confidence that you'll be able to share your paper with someone else soon. And once you give it to a mentor or guidance in a coaching center or a separate person, you try to incorporate the inputs they give. So these forms your base for your knowledge or content writing. And also you can share your answer sheet with your family, your friends, to just check how they are telling us about the presentation style. So not from the content wise, but from a presentation aspect, they'll be able to guide us better. It might be very minute thing. Use a black pen and blue pen to give a good appearance. So these are minute things which anyone can say from a third person's perspective. So do share your papers with few friends or do share your papers with mentors to get good inputs and try to incorporate them. The incorporation is what matters and many people forget to do that. And this particular is required skill in order to improve yourself. So once we get into the regular practice of mains answer writing, the next phase which is required is that you have to understand the question. So UPSC does has like a two-line questions, three-line questions. So one skill which you have to develop is that you have to break the question into multiple parts. For example, let's take a question. So differentiate between the landslides which happens in the Himalayan region and the Western Ghats region. This is a question which happened in the 10-marker question of the UPSC Civil Services 2021. So in this question, you can break down it into what is landslides, why does it happen in the Himalaya region, why does it happen in the Western Ghats region, what is the similarities and differences between the two occurrences, and then you end up with a conclusion. So you just try to break the question into multiple parts and then try to visualize an answer. So visualize yourself an answer. If you see this question, how will you write an introduction? Will it be a two-liner? Will it be a three-liner? Then next, what will be the part? Is it the Himalayan region landscape which you will write? And the third part, is it the Western Ghats region you will be writing? And the fourth part, what is the similarities, what is the differences? And finally a conclusion. You just chart an answer in your own mind. You just visualize an answer in your own mind. So once this visualization is done, you have to see how many points you have to write per part. Because the question does have multiple parts. And for a 10 marker, you have very limited time of 7 minutes. In the 7 minutes, you have to at least write 10 points. And for a 15 marker, just have a base minimum of 15 points. So for the 10 points, how will you categorize the points? So for this particular example, for the Himalayan landslides, I like to write 2 points. For the Western Ghats, I like to write 2 points. In the similarities and differences, I like to write 3 points each. So in total, I have 10 points plus the introduction and a conclusion. And this gives a wholesome approach where you have break down the question, where you have addressed each and every part adequately. And the next is that you have to see how to make an answer interactive. You have to see whether you can draw diagrams, whether you can use maps, whether you can use tables, charts, flow charts. So these are things which make the paper more interesting for an evaluator, breaks from monotonous writing style of paragraphs and bullets, and gives a good approach for an evaluator to give more marks. So these are things which you have to experiment after breaking the question, addressing the core demand, visualizing an answer, and deciding the number of points, and then you have to experiment all this. And once this is done, just look at an answer from an evaluator perspective. Is the answer suffix the question's demand? Is it adequate? Is it easy to read? Does the overall appearance look presentable and legible? And is it an interesting answer? So these are the things which an evaluator might look at from an answer. So these things must be seen also. And the next important point is that there are few minute things which people might overcome or just do not give sufficient information. One of the minute things is that selecting a pen, because you have to be quite comfortable with the pens you use. You will be writing continuously for 3 hours, and you have a paper in the forenoon and in the afternoon, and you have 3 consecutive days of writing. So you have to pick a pen. You just experiment with multiple pens and select one which is comfortable and which is an easy flow, which makes your handwriting look more legible and neat. So this particular thing which you have to experiment during your mock practices itself is one minute thing which people might miss. And the next minute thing is that bordering a diagram. So what happens is that when you border a diagram, the diagram looks beveled. It gives a very good appearance. And this is again a minute thing which people might miss. And the next is side heading. So people do give side heading to an answer. But how can we reuse the words which is given in the question? So once you reuse the words given in the question, the whole answer seems to be connected with the question, to be addressing the demand of the question. So side headings do matter. And the next minute thing is indenting. So you will be writing bullet points, you will be writing paragraphs. But how well are you indenting? Are you leaving the tab space? And why this indenting matters is that it gives a presentable look to an answer. So these indenting is also one aspect which people needs to focus. And fourth is that you need to emphasize on things, because the question might ask one particular subject area and you need to emphasize that again and again so that you establish a connection to the question and tell to the evaluator that, see, I am using the question, I am addressing the question. So emphasizing the question's core demand again is one particular skill which you have to focus. And next is that highlighting key points. So you will be writing n number of points in a question, but just one point might be your USP. So highlighting that in a better fashion is again a minute thing which people might miss. And in value addition part, you have significant experimentation to be done. You will have maps to be drawn, maps for your geography paper, maps for your environment, internal security. Even art and culture is one area where maps can work. So you have to experiment it beforehand. And the next is flow chart. So you have your causes, you have your consequences. Draw it as a flow chart. That makes things easier. That saves your time, but still impresses an evaluator. So next is the centripetal pattern of presentation. So you have an in-out approach. You have the main demand of the question in the center as a circle, and then you branch out as points in the outer region. So centripetal pattern of addressing. And the next thing, you have models to be written. So for models, you can pick either global models or your local models. For example, when we say cleanliness in India, we say about Indore as the most clean city. So we pick the Indore model. And similarly, when we talk about the amphibian model of living for the floods, so we do talk about the sponge city model. So these are the models which you can say that the best practices which can be mentioned in your main answer. Then you have certain keywords which has to be addressed. In the question itself, there is an evaluate, there is a discuss, there are critically analyze. So these are the different keywords for which institutes do provide what does this mean and how to address each and every keyword. So understanding the keyword and trying to give an answer according to the keyword is again a value addition which you have to be done. And the next value addition is a timeline. So you have your XT questions, and a better approach to show that you are aware of the XT is to draw a timeline. So you show the events which happened before the particular question area and also after the particular question area. So this particular timeline shows that you have a hold over the subject. And the next is you have real life examples. For instance, we take Manrega as a best example for social audit. You take Seva as a best example for women empowerment. So these are real life examples which need to be quoted in your governance and society answers. And then when you are approaching your international relations, the better approach is a SWOT analysis. When India's ties with other countries are asked, you can approach it from a strength, weakness, opportunity, threats perspective and address all the 4 areas and show your knowledge in IR.
कौन नहीं चाहता कि उसका मेंटर एक यूपीएससी रैंकर हो। 2021 के फाइनल रिजल्ट्स में सिविल्स दिल्ली आईएएस के 200 से भी ज्यादा सिलेक्शंस हैं। गाइस, आई एम गोइंग टू कनेक्ट यू 1-to-1 विद सिविल्स दिल्ली रैंकर्स फॉर फ्री। देयर इज अ लिंक इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन, फिल इट एंड स्केड्यूल अ सेशन। These ranker will prepare a timetable and a personalized plan for you. ये टॉपर्स आपको exactly वही बताएंगे कि कौन सी बुक फॉलो करनी है, कौन सा चैप्टर पढ़ना है. They will guide you in answer writing, mocks and accessing them. Don't miss this golden opportunity to get mentored by a ranker.
And the next is data. So you have certain data there. You have economy data, you have environment data. But if you are not a person who are keen on data memorization, just limit it to a very limited set of data and try to use them in your answers. And the next is commissions and committees. So there are second ARC, there are Punchi Commission, Sarkaria Commission. So you can use these commissions and their recommendation as a way forward, and that gives a very positive approach in your answers. And then you do have punchlines stated. You do have like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. So these are punchlines which can be used in your answer, which creates a very positive trend to your answer. And then you have trend chart for economy. So you have a GDP trend chart, you have a GST collection trend chart. So using this, you can say to the evaluator that you are in touch with the current affairs on a regular basis. So this shows that you have a hold on the subject again. And then you have an interlinking value addition. So you have to link multiple subjects. So if you are writing a geography, do not just stick to your physical geography. You just link it with the economic geography. You do link it with the human geography. Try to bring in environmental geography. So link the other subjects and give a holistic answer for an evaluator. And then finally in the conclusion, you can link it with the targets which is given. So you have doubling the farmer's income, you have tripling the exports. So these are the targets which can be linked with your answer and give a good note of ending and a hopeful note of ending. So these are the different value additions which can be done in the mains answer. And as you approach the mains, what people generally tend to do is that they try to focus on giving a unique answer. They try to focus on giving a perfect answer. But a perfectness is very subjective. So what is perfect for me might not be perfect for others. So rather than focusing on giving a unique answer, rather than focusing on giving a perfect answer, what you have to focus is to answer adequately a question and complete the paper. The completion of paper is very key, because even if you leave one particular question and you just miss like a base mark of 2 to 3, and when you see that you have repeated this in all the GS4, in total it leads to a loss of around 10 to 12 marks, and even one single mark does play a role in determining whether your name appears for the interview call list or not, or even in the final list or not. So even one particular mark does play a key role. So completing the paper has to be your goal, and adequately addressing the core demand and incorporating the value additions and making the paper interactive. So these are the things which the mains answer writing requires. Hopefully the suggestions and inputs which I have shared and which have stemmed from my experience was useful to you. And try to incorporate this, experiment this at your end, and if it is useful, do incorporate in your answers. Thank you for watching the video.